Hello and welcome to Marketron Mobile. Today we're going to be talking about the sales opportunity that exists within your mobile initiative. To date, your program directors are utilizing this as an opportunity to engage listeners and ultimately drive ratings for their individual radio stations. Now we're going to talk about how we can actually tap your local direct clients into this warm conversation that's basically going on between your radio station and its listeners. Let's get started. Okay, and today we're going to run through basically the mobile landscape, give you a little bit of a perspective on the different products that reside on that mobile phone. We're then going to dive into the programming solution. How is the radio station using this as an opportunity to engage their listeners on a day-to-day basis and ultimately drive ratings for the specific stations? We'll then transfer that into what we call the sales opportunity, where we're basically going to create a scenario where your clients become a part of that dialogue. Where we're basically pulling up a chair at the conversation between the radio station and the listeners and allowing your individual businesses to monetize this relationship for their own mobile strategy moving forward. Then I'm just going to give you some highlights basically of our workshop process if that is something that your radio station or cluster is going to be taking advantage of as we move forward. So with that being said, obviously there's no Q&A on this, but feel free to reach out to your client service director. Now let's dive into the mobile landscape and the products that reside on that mobile phone. Okay, so keys, wallet, phone, these are basically those assets of survival. These are our little buzzwords in mobile, but really speaking to the fact that these are those items that we have on us at all times, right down to when we leave in the morning. We'd probably run back to go grab our mobile phone even before we'd run back to even get our wallet. Our job as marketers, and as we're going to try to introduce to your local direct clients, is how are they as marketers building market share of their specific customers' mobile phones? How are they getting a little bit of real estate so that they can go back and market to them as they move forward? That mobile phone is being marketed right now as the third screen, but I'd probably argue that it's the first screen. You know, obviously there was first the TV, then the computer, and now the mobile phone. The reality is we're looking at that mobile phone first in the morning and probably last when we go to bed at night. So it is something that we're constantly engaging throughout the day. So definitely needs to be a part of a marketing strategy as we move forward, or at least begin to get our arms around it as to how we'll utilize it as a tool moving forward. The interesting thing is we no longer call it a mobile phone or a cell phone. It's now a mobile device, and that really speaks to the fact that we can do so much more on it. We're now text messaging about 5 times more often than we're making phone calls. From a smartphone technology standpoint, we're looking at by the end of this year, 1 out of every 2 people that own a phone will own a smartphone. That's primarily due to the fact the price points on these have come down so dramatically, where we can now buy an iPhone for under $50 right now. We're searching for things online constantly when we're out and about in the marketplace. And from an apps perspective, one interesting stat to consider is that just 3 years ago, there wasn't a single app on a single phone. Basically, in the past 3 years, we've had over 10 billion that have been downloaded. So the growth of this area is dramatic, and it's going to be our jobs to educate you on how to utilize this and harness this in your strategies moving forward. All of this content is essentially available on your mobile phone now. I think an interesting point is that Bill Gates said about 8 years ago, and he said, if I'm not finding a way to put my software onto a handheld device, I'm really going to be missing the boat. And the reality is he did to the extent that Jobs beat him to the punch with the iPhone, and they are still looking for some really good traction with a mobile device in the marketplace. But even with all of this technology that resides on it and all this content, the interesting thing is that text messaging still remains the foundation of everything that we do within mobile. And it primarily revolves around these 3 statistics, in that 98% of phones are text compatible, 81% of the people that own mobile phones are text messaging on a regular basis. And just due to that point, with that type of an adoption where we're past that tipping point and essentially everybody is doing it within the marketplace, we're now at a standpoint where that average age of somebody that is text messaging is even older than the median age of most marketplaces. The interesting thing also is that even when we look at that smartphone user, that person that's able to access so much information, is these are basically super users of their mobile phone, and they're actually text messaging twice as much as the next person. It's our job as marketers we're going to show you some strategies, at least within this presentation, where we're going to be able to show you how we can take it from a text message and actually start to tap into those other digital assets that reside on that phone. Now let's take a little bit of time and walk through what the ratings opportunity is for your individual radio stations. The more you understand how they're engaging listeners and tapping your clients into this conversation, the more you're going to be able to go out and sell this into the marketplace. We work with about 1,600 publishers nationwide that's made up of radio, TV, and outdoor. Radio still remains our best call to action, though, within traditional media. When you really understand how we utilize these mediums, they are the two on-the-go mediums. They are the two most personal mediums. You guys have been out there talking about the mobile medium, radio as being the most personal medium out there, that personal engagement of you sitting in that car with that your favorite radio station engaging it. Well, that mobile phone's come in and surpassed it, but when we marry these two together, we have the perfect 1-2 punch, and in this case, we're actually creating a mass engagement opportunity. In utilizing radio actually for the reach, mobile for that engagement. We're providing instant gratification to our radio spots as they're running on air. We're out and about in the marketplace, so we're actually at that closest point of sale, and it's all being measured in real time. For the first time, we really have the ability to show return on your client's investment and really track the success of their overall radio strategy. We could essentially run a radio spot at 11 o'clock and track that to a register at, say, 12 noon if that was a mobile coupon or something to that extent. So let's talk about how the radio station's utilizing this on a day-to-day basis. So we'll throw this just as the example here, text KISS to 68255, get the inside track on concerts, chances to win, engage talent, that type of thing. We'll run that within promos that are going to run on air. The primary goal of those promos is basically to get that 68255 saved on every listener's mobile phone like it is their best friend, so that all that listener has to do at any given time is open up that specific contact, or in this case KISS, on their contact list, and now they're just sending in keywords in order to access different information from the radio station or interact with different elements of the radio station. From a personality standpoint, we're going to be really promoting, and you're going to be noticing on air quite a bit over the next few months, what we call text-to-win opportunities, okay? The idea of moving away from that 25th caller mentality where all the listeners are basically getting a busy signal and a poor experience really with the radio station. By utilizing a text-to-win type strategy, we can let every text message get through, every listener getting a rich response back, similar to, thanks for entering our specific contest, tune in tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. when we announce the winner, that type of a dialogue going on. But most importantly, what we're able to do is take everybody that participates in the contest and move them into the mobile database of the radio station so that we can then market to them as we move forward. So it's no longer that busy signal, and we lose that engagement with all of those listeners that participated in that specific contest. We'll take this online, and we'll have our own mobile storefront that is basically allowing listeners to sign up for the mobile initiative right on your website. Out and about at events within the marketplace, we're going to throw away the little card table and the little box with the tear pad on it, and we're going to move everything digitally through the mobile phone so that we can take everybody that attends a specific event, move them into the mobile database of the radio station, and therefore begin to market to them as we move forward. Good example is if we have listeners attending a concert, we could send out a message an hour after the concert for everybody that attended the concert and say, hey, thanks, I hope you enjoyed the concert tonight. Tune in tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. when we recap it with some VIP access and that type of thing. So wherever the radio station's been out there promoting the call letters, the frequency, the URL address or website of the radio station, we now have this new mobile call to action, which is text KISS to 68255. Primary goal here is we're trying to grow that mobile database up to right around 40% of the overall cume of the radio station. And we're going to qualify that as the core database, okay? Then we're going to complement that with what we call needs-based databases, where we don't want to become the new spam of our listeners' mobile phones. So what we want to do is super serve the needs of that specific listener. If that listener is a diehard concert goer, we're only going to want to send that individual concert alerts on a weekly basis of every band that's rolling in town. We don't want to inundate our listeners with just multiple messages bouncing off of their phone, or it's not going to be a real rich experience for them. So a good analogy just to look at this screen is look at that core database as being the home page of the website. Whenever we're making any revisions to the home page of the website, that would be a text message that would typically go out to the core database. And then look at the needs-based databases as basically the most trafficked areas of the website. Where are listeners going to access the most information? And we're going to want to super serve our listeners with those specific content areas of the radio station. So just to give you an idea of what an on-air promo might sound, if you haven't heard one already, so get the inside track on all things KISS by joining the KISS Text Club. Be the first to know about concerts, events, chances to win. Simply text KISS to the number 68255. Maybe repeat it so that we can make sure that we're really training the listeners on how to engage it. But to give you an illustration on that text response back, thanks for joining the KISS Mobile VIP Club. Be the first to hear about guests and so forth. We're confirming that relationship with that specific listener and so forth. But we're going to grow these databases about 20 times faster utilizing what we call text-to-win contests, okay? Primarily, this is just an example utilizing text Gaga to 68255 for your chance to win tickets to see Lady Gaga. But by including and join our mobile VIP club, we can take everyone that registers for this specific contest, move them directly into the mobile database of the radio station, and therefore we are growing these databases that much quicker and that much more efficiently. To give you an idea of what this looks like from an instant gratification standpoint, this is just an example looking at our platform as we do a call to action. Pretty evident if you look at the timestamp down the center column that we did a promo right around 8:25 p.m. Okay, because our platform's going to light up for the next 5 to 10 minutes after that message has gone live, and just message after message, Gaga, 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 coming in from a multiple number of listeners around the marketplace. Okay, so ultimately what we're trying to do is build up these databases to, as I mentioned, 40% of the overall QM with one goal in mind, and that's really to drive ratings for the radio station. A lot of people get into mobile thinking that it's more of just an engagement opportunity for voting and contesting and that type of thing, but the true power of what resides within mobile is our opportunity to activate databases and drive people to engage specific brands and services that we have to offer, and that's going to really translate well for your specific clients. But in the case of the radio stations here, just consider this idea. Take a radio station that cumes about 100,000 people within a given hour. We push a message out. In this particular case, within the 9 o'clock hour, Britney Spears is sitting down at 10 o'clock. But we push it out about a half an hour before to 40% of the overall cume of that particular hour. And do you think we can get some people to text or flick on the radio dial of their radio station in order to tune into the station when we can send out a dedicated text message to the most personal item that our listeners owns, with 98% of those messages being opened and typically within the first 5 minutes that they receive them? To put this into a brand perspective, one of my clients for years has been Arby's, where we created mobile databases all across the country with one goal in mind. On Monday, their slowest day of the week, we push out a message right around 11 o'clock, right before lunch. Of all the messages that we will push out that day at 11 o'clock, 33% of them will be redeemed that day for lunch. So buy a roast burger, get a free Coke. Buy a roast burger, get a free curly fry. That's done on a weekly basis with a consistent redemption rate between 28 and 33%. So from a radio station's perspective, all they got to do is get that listener to flick the switch on their radio dial. From a brand perspective, we're still enjoying some great traffic driving opportunities as we move forward. Now that we've established a concept by which we're going to utilize the mobile medium in order to engage listeners, ultimately build mobile databases, and drive ratings for our specific stations, we'll now take it one step further. Let's explore going beyond the 160 characters of a text message and tap into those other digital assets that reside on that mobile phone. So let's go back to that time spent listening example that I was talking about a little bit earlier with the Britney Spears scenario of doing a call to action to bring listeners back to the station. But as you'll notice at the end of this text message in bold, we highlight to listen to Hot 104 on your phone, reply Hot Mobile. Now what we're actually able to do is send a message to that listener that wants to engage the mobile entity of the station. And now what we can do is send them links. And what I call these are basically destination, or what I basically call this concept is destination marketing on the mobile phone. Still somewhat of a pain to navigate the mobile phone, any smartphone that's out there, even down to the most sophisticated iPhones and so forth. But what we're able to do within the text message is take them directly to the content that we want them to receive. In this case, we're not just taking them to the iTunes store, but more importantly, we're taking them to the app of the radio station in the iTunes store, allowing that listener to tap the word download, and now they're essentially listening to the radio station within a few minutes of hearing that radio message on air or within that conversation. We can take this to video content, okay? Let's take them to YouTube. I like the YouTube platform just from the standpoint that basically it's consistent on all smartphones that's out there. The listener's always going to get a good user experience utilizing that platform. So in this case, the radio station wants to be the resource for hip-hop in the marketplace. They announced Diddy's new videos rolled out. They can send out that text message with the link in it, and that listener is tapping that link and going to YouTube, but more importantly, right to the video. But then when they can also complement that, maybe in the morning show they're talking about it, hey, have you seen Diddy's new video? Well, if you haven't, text the word Diddy to 23088 and we'll send it to you. So that we can use this as an interactive channel in order to provide more content to our listeners. And then just from the perspective of providing headlines, really speaking to Americans' inability for detail to a certain extent, where they want that USA Today headline, but if they want more information, we want to provide that to them. So I always will recommend to our radio stations that we provide the headline, as in this case we're talking about the Foo Fighters concert at the Pepsi Center, but more importantly, if they want more information on it, they tap that button or the link to the website, but not to the home page of the website, but more importantly the concert page of the website, so they can access more information revolving around that specific topic and so forth. Everybody's still working through the social assets and so forth and social networking and that strategy that's in play. Use it as an opportunity to build these out. More importantly, we're not taking them to Facebook or just to Twitter, but more importantly to the profile of the station on each of those sites, so that all that listener is doing is basically tapping follow it or like it, and now we're building those networks out that much quicker and that much more efficiently. And then just from the standpoint that smartphone is basically a mini computer, use it as an opportunity to purchase product. In this case, the radio station's using it as an opportunity to buy concert tickets, but it also works in the 50 off programs that are out there, where we literally just take them to the storefront of the website, where all they're doing is entering their credit card information and purchasing product right there on their handheld device. I'm sure as we were walking through a couple of the examples with your radio station, you were beginning to see how this was going to be transferred into your local direct client strategy. Now let's walk through a couple of different concepts that we're going to be able to tap your local clients into this warm conversation going on between the radio station and its listeners. One analogy that I like to use here is that if you were really to boil down what mobile marketing is right now, it's essentially what email marketing was about 12 years ago, when a lot of our clients were all competing for market share of their customers' email inbox. Obviously, over time, with spam and all the elements that have really come into play, we've seen these open rates drop pretty dramatically, where they're down into the teens and even single digits in some cases. Use this as an opportunity. Even if you look at the content that's in these emails, it is basically that USA Today headline. It doesn't go into all that much detail and easily delivered within a text message, but now we're enjoying that nice 98% open rate that I've been talking about throughout the presentation so far. So let's boil this down, really look at the elements that make up. This is basically marketing 101, but let's look at it from a mobile perspective here real quick. In this case, we're going to utilize the radio station and the mobile network of the radio station, which we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, in order to reach as many people as we possibly can within the marketplace. We're going to do a mobile call to action within that radio spot that's going to allow us to opt that listener into your client's individual mobile database, so that that client's able to stimulate a dialogue, nurture that relationship, provide them with value propositions from time to time, so that at any given time they can activate that database and ultimately monetize that relationship as they move forward. So let's talk about how we might do this. I'm going to use an example here for Ford. And in this particular case, it's text Ford to 68255, okay? One point that I always like to also bring up is the fact that even though your clients are creating a mobile relationship with you or a partnership with you for their mobile strategy, and they're definitely going to use the radio station in order to drive their program, the reality is they can also use all of their traditional media within the marketplace to promote this at the same exact time. Okay, so that call to action, text forward to 68255 can be promoted on TV, in the newspaper, right down to their point of sale, and I'm really going to encourage that most of all. We don't want a single customer leaving their locations without the opportunity to move them into the mobile database of the radio station or of that specific client. Okay, so let's talk about how we might do this. So let's just utilize a typical 60-second radio spot that client's always been running. We're going to grab the last 15 seconds of that radio spot and we're going to do a mobile call to action like this. To receive a $1,500 first-time car buyer rebate and join our loyalty club, text forward to 68255. That's the word forward to the number 68255. Messaging and data rates may apply and so forth. Okay, but this is a scenario where the listener's texting in the word forward to 68255. They get a coupon back. Hey, show this text a freeway forward to receive your $1,500 rebate. Okay, click this phone number or click this link. But what we've actually done here is we've taken that traditional 60-second ad that they've always been running, and within a few minutes, essentially, we have moved that listener into the mobile database of this specific client, given them an opportunity to click a phone number and talk to a sales representative at a dealership, and basically click a link, and now we're looking at the paint of a car right on their mobile phone. So as you could see, this is just another opportunity for us to provide more content around this specific client's business so that that customer can make a more educated buying decision and get more tools and content built around that solution. We can then complement that with what we call the mobile network of the radio station. And this is really the true benefit of utilizing the station, because we're actually able to continue to build the mobile database even while they might be not using traditional media within the marketplace and so forth. In this case, we're actually tapping that customer into the warm dialogue that's going on between the radio station and its listeners. In this case, the listener is engaging a text-to-win campaign, opportunity to win tickets to go see Katy Perry and so forth. But as you'll notice at the end of this text message, it actually says, reply Ford for a $1,500 rebate on a new Ford and more. What this allows us to do is basically anybody that replies to accept that offer has opted into the Ford database, and now we're providing the same content we were just talking about in that on-air component. Okay, but what we have here is a tech-savvy person that is already engaging the radio station, probably already has the short code 68255 saved on their mobile phone, and now it's just an opportunity for them to just reply to a text message in order to engage this specific brand and this client and opt into their database for more information and so forth. Then ultimately what we're going to do is take everybody that's texted the word forward to 68255, move them into a nice good size, what we'll call core database, and now at any given time we can activate that database. New Ford Explorer rolls out, we can then push a message out to that database announcing the launch of that new car and ways in order to engage that specific car and find out more information and so forth. But what we're enjoying is that nice 98% of text messages are open. We can then complement this with all of those other digital assets that we were talking about a little bit earlier with the radio station, where we can take them from a click to a call, we can take them to a portion of the website, we can map out a location within Google, we can do any sort of social networking links that would be applicable for this. Look at it from an app perspective. Most cases your local direct client's not going to have an app, but they can definitely recommend apps that make sense for the lifestyle of their customer base and so forth. And the other nice thing about it is that if they do launch an app in, let's say, a year or two from now, they've at least have a nice database of, let's say, 5,000 to 10,000 people that they're able to push and announce that app to the marketplace, and then it's just a click away in order to download that app onto their mobile phone. And then just from the video content scenario, let's take any commercials that they're running within the marketplace or any video that they've produced in the marketplace, and let's allow them to basically just tap a link in order to bring that text message to life and give it animation, color, and all types of video content. So ultimately, just to reiterate, it's all about building market share of that customer's mobile phone. We'll enhance that through a couple of those 360 concepts that we were just talking about on the previous screen. And then when you boil this down, it's all about increasing the frequency of purchases. Just as the radio station's trying to bring listeners back to the radio station when they might not be listening, we want that customer to start thinking about our business a little bit more often. When they might not have been thinking about it, we push an offer or an opportunity to engage it, and that way we're able to sell not just one roast burger per week, but maybe 2 or 3 roast burgers, like in that Arby's example. One of our proven strategies for launching a mobile initiative in individual markets is utilizing our monetizing mobile workshops. These enable us to lay in a nice foundation of local direct clients that you'll be able to monetize for months and years to come. So basically, we developed the monetizing mobile workshops with one concept basically in mind. I have a radio background, was a general sales manager with stations, and obviously we're giving a lot of products for account executives to go out there and sell. Obviously they're selling spot radio, then we're giving them streaming, then we're giving them digital assets that are online, maybe a 50 off deal here or there. Maybe we throw in some NTR events and stuff like that. Now all of a sudden we're gonna throw mobile on top of all of the other products. So the premise behind the workshops is really we can't expect you guys to be experts at selling absolutely everything that's out there. So the idea is let us help you sell this one with you or for you to a certain extent. So really what we look at doing with a lot of our new clients that we bring on board is the idea of over the first 30 days of launching that mobile strategy, let us sort of take the reins here. Premise of the workshop is basically this. We dedicate one day, about 30 days from you're watching this video, okay? This is sort of your launch day of getting training. What exactly is mobile? How does it work? How does it work with traditional media? How does it work specifically with radio in general? Then basically what we're looking at doing is launching what we call a monetizing mobile workshop about 30 days from now, where you guys will pick a venue within the marketplace that makes sense. We'll schedule about 3 to 4 workshops over the course of the day. The workshops are basically an hour in length, a 35-minute presentation, and then we break out and provide specifics according to the category of that specific client and walk them through the elements of the package and how the overall program would work, okay? But all the workshops are identical. It's just providing a little bit of flexibility for your clients to be able to attend the event and so forth. We'll provide you guys with a customized invitation that includes your marketplace, your stations, your logos, all of that. An expert presenter will come in and speak on behalf of you guys and present as a representing Marketron in that place, and then ultimately representing your radio stations. We'll develop out a custom presentation specific to your marketplace, utilizing your stations within the examples. Similar to a lot of the content that I walked through within the presentation, it would all be customized specifically to your marketplace and your stations. We then would produce a sales package that would be a part of a dialogue that we would have with your sales managers as to price points and elements that we could include in that package. And then ultimately what we're looking at doing is securing annual commitments. The idea of leasing a keyword to a specific client or a multiple number of keywords to a specific client so that they can create their own mobile strategy for themselves. As you can see, from an annual commitment standpoint, this provides so many more opportunities. Not only are we going to use this as a vehicle in order to drive spot revenue, because they got to promote this thing online, obviously, but it also provides you with a little bit more transparency into what they are doing on a month-to-month basis. Your client always has to go through you when they are talking about a new opportunity or a new promotion or something that's coming, because they've got to send out a message via text messaging. This gives you more insight and transparency into their marketing strategy, and therefore you could sell them into more spot revenue or potentially an NTR event or any of those other elements that you might have out there. What we basically look for from you is basically the relationships within the marketplace. Reach out to everybody that you potentially can, anything from key accounts to prospects. I even like to throw out and challenge the client that might have left radio a few years ago and searched out some other avenues within digital and so forth. Use this as an opportunity to re-engage them and bring them back to the table so that we can start this conversation with them again. Basically what we suggest you do is send out the customized invitation via email, and then the idea is do not sell. Sell them on the idea of coming to the actual event, to learning about mobile, I'll put it out there from this perspective. It is not one of those cattle call type scenarios where we get all your clients in a room and we don't let them leave until they've signed the dotted line. This presentation is more of a guidance to realization, the idea of showing them how mobile works with radio and how these two as partners can be the most beneficial for them moving forward. And basically they're going to come away with that light bulb going off and like, okay, I finally understand this. I understand how mobile works. I understand how it works with traditional media, with radio, and how it would ultimately benefit my business as we move forward. So recognize that it's a pretty soft sell, but it's a scenario where we will close about 1 out of every 4, 1 out of every 3 clients that attend, just due to the fact that it is a pretty compelling story. And then basically right after that presentation, or right after the workshop, we really look at giving you guys the baton and you're off and selling it. You would have sat through 3 or 4 of these presentations. You would have seen how we interacted with the client, how the product was presented to them, and more importantly, how we answered objections or questions to the medium in general, so that you're armed with all the know-how in order to take this to the marketplace and be experts at selling mobile moving forward. Post the workshop, you're basically just going to be utilizing Marketron Mobile for presentations, packages, the old typical Radio 1 sheet to take out to the marketplace and so forth. We'll also provide you with a monthly newsletter, case studies in order to nail down into specific categories as to what would work for a specific client and so forth. We'll echo a lot of this type of material within our monthly newsletters and providing best practices and that type of thing. And then that is basically it. You guys will be off and running with a full-blown mobile initiative from there moving forward. Thank you for taking some time with the Marketron Mobile Sales Training. Feel free to reach out to your client service director regarding any of the concepts explained within this presentation, and certainly in regard to the monetizing mobile workshops. We appreciate your time and look forward to working with you.